is quite appropriate. You know, there are some things that Rand Paul does that I appreciate. He is one of the, I don't know if he's the only Republican co-sponsor, but he's, as far as I know, he co-sponsored this bill that is going to come out of the Senate. I think it's coming out of the Senate. And the House, I guess. Rand Paul, along with Ron Wyden, who I'm also not happy with when it comes to trade, and Zoe Lofgren out of the House, Democrat, California, introduced legislation today. This was about 5 or 6 days ago, to reform the CFAA, that is the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. This is the act that Aaron Swartz was prosecuted under, or, and I would argue, persecuted under. It is, it was written, I think, about 25 years ago. 25 years ago, early 90s, I think it was. And is very outdated and is used by prosecutors essentially to pad their bona fides. And so, you know, kudos to Rand Paul for being a part of that. There's some parts of his brand that I like, right? He's also involved in some criminal justice reform. Inevitably with a Democrat, but good. But he also has a reputation of being some type of, I don't know. I have problems with, I mean, I don't think it's a mystery to anybody. I have massive problems with libertarian economic theory. And just because a libertarian happens to agree with me on other things doesn't mean that I have any more respect for the libertarian ideology. But here's the other thing about Rand Paul. Total fraud. Total fraud. Because I know there's libertarians out there saying, like, you know, we've got to stop these wars, et cetera, et cetera. Rand Paul's the guy to do it. What? I understand that when he first got into the Senate, it was politically helpful for him to talk about cutting aid to Israel, for instance, and then he reversed himself. Or that we should cut the defense budget, and then he's since reversed himself. And I understand I'm sexist, according to Rand Paul, if I bring this up. Here he is talking to Elizabeth Hasselbeck on Fox News. She must have really grilled him on this one. About the Al-Qaeda hostages who were killed by an American drone. Here's Rand Paul talking about those drone strikes.
That is 2016 presidential candidate and Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, who joins us now. Senator, thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
What is your take right now on our position in terms of drone strikes? And you just saw the two individuals who lost their lives. Do you believe that we are replacing human intel with drone strikes, and then this is why this happened?
Well, I hope that's not the case, but I do think that there is a valuable use for drones, and as much as I'm seen as this opponent of drones, I think in military and in warfare they do have some value. I think this is a difficult situation. You have hostages being held. They're, some of them American. You also have the people holding the hostages. Some of them are American. I've been an opponent of using drones about people not involved in combat. However, if you're holding hostages, you kind of are involved in combat. So I look at it the way it is in the United States. If there's a kidnapping in New York, the police don't have to have a warrant to go in. You see what I mean? So you don't get due process or anything like that if you're in a war zone. So these people were in a war zone and probably got what was coming to them, the captors. Unfortunately, some innocent people lost their lives, the hostages. But I guess the world is so partisan, but I tend not to want to blame the president for the loss of life here. I think he was trying to do the right thing.
I don't either. Yeah, you cannot blame the president, especially when these guys swore to destroy us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait a second. I want to parse this for you because there's so much bullshit in this answer. There's so much bullshit in this answer. It is unbelievable. Rand Paul is trying to justify or accept the killing of an American hostage and an Italian hostage by drone strike because of it's similar to, like, you don't need a warrant when you go in if there's a kidnapping. And he's talking about the killing of 2 other Americans who were also killed in that compound, not in the same strike, mind you. Because this is the guy who fake filibustered the idea of killing American citizens with drone strikes. But here he's justifying it because this was not a targeted assassination. This was I guess, some type of kidnap rescue, hostage rescue, according to him, right? That's how he's justifying it. This is a hostage situation. So if these guys are holding hostage, they're involved in combat with the United States. And then all rules are off in terms of, like, you can't assassinate these guys. Well, here's the reality. We obviously did not know there were hostages there. That's why we ended up killing them. So how can that be an excuse to stand with Rand or stand with Rand for us killing those American citizens who happened to be at that compound a couple hours or a couple of days later? He is so full of bull crap here. It's unbelievable. The irony for me is that I'm actually getting more agitated that he doesn't even have his own principles. For principles that I also find ridiculous. But this guy is a total charlatan. And I don't know if that actually makes me respect him more or less, because I also think the ideology that he would subscribe to is also full of crap. But either way, and, it's funny to watch this guy just sort of turn himself into pretzels to kiss ass because he's just, whatever his brand was. All he's got left, I think, is just sort of vaguely alluding to his dad's newsletters.
One of the major, things that came out when people were really criticizing the drone strikes at first was when the targeted killing of Awaki because he was an American citizen. And then
that's ostensibly what Rand Paul was filibustering about, not the use of drones.
Exactly.
And look, the use of drones in and of themselves, I mean, they're just another way of killing. And I think that we have a much larger problem than just the targeted killing of Americans, but it is a good mile marker to show you just exactly like how expendable we're willing to kill American civilians. Or I should say American citizens. The idea of we killed a couple thousand Pakistanis or Afghanis. Yeah, civilian, what are you going to do?
Well, the reason I bring it up is because this is the same exact situation where there was a targeted killing of Americans who were Al-Qaeda operatives.
Well, supposedly, we didn't know they were there.
The Americans.
Supposedly.
Who were in Al-Qaeda.
There's no reason to think that we knew that they were there.
It doesn't
no reason.
matter.
I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but you say supposedly, and I'm just saying, there's no reason to suspect that we actually thought they were there.
Are you serious?
What do you mean?
There's no reason for us as civilians who get the report that these 2 Americans were just coincidentally killed, that
they thought they were there when they did this.
I'm not talking about the kidnaps. I'm talking about.
I'm sorry, I was confused.
Yes, I'm not talking about there was only one American who was killed. There were 3 Americans killed in these two attacks.
You're talking about Adam Kaddan. Okay.
Yes. There's no reason to be skeptical? I don't know.
Well, right. That's not
I tend to be skeptical in these situations.
Well, they were targeting Adam Kaddan, for sure, obviously.
According to the U.S. government, they were.
I don't know what they've said about it, but I'm sure that they're on a
Look, next time we kill an American, say it was an accident.
Right, exactly.